So after one whole month after I disclosed it to the Discord group, I want to give you guys an insight into my $60,000 crypto portfolio that I just accumulated over the last roughly 2 weeks. I want to kind of give you guys an insight on some of the buy orders that did get hit. And I'll also give you an insight on, I think there's only one buy order that did not get hit so far. I'll talk about that and really kind of address it. But yeah, I mean, some of these buys are down a little bit right now. Some of them are up, which is great. But I wanted to give you guys my insight on why I bought now, why I had these buy orders in place anyways, and what, I'm doing pretty much going forward. So let's first start off with, crypto itself. So obviously, the crypto market is still kind of just a little bit brutal out there. We're still chopping. Everything's still kind of looking a little messy. The main thing that I mentioned over on the main channel, for those that are not, watching the main channel, it's okay if you guys are not, or if maybe you missed the update, it's okay. Ultimately, what I was looking at with Bitcoin is, are we really going to play out the way that everyone is saying, where, we're going to break out to the upside, or, on the other side, you have the bears saying like, oh no, we're going to crash down, to this, price, that price. The main thing that I'm looking at with Bitcoin is that we do have a little bit of a weaker structure. We have those lower highs, and recently we did create some lower lows. And now, everyone's saying like, all right, that's it. Like, we're going back down to 56, 54K. And yeah, that's definitely possible. Like, we could do that, and then we could start to go crazy off of those lows. That's definitely possible. However, there's also the possibility that we are bottomed out, and now we're just going to kind of chop and potentially put in a higher low. And this is kind of what I was looking forward to seeing it, if it's going to play out or not. Just kind of move everything off of the chart, except for these two bottom ones. Basically, what we would be looking forward to seeing is a potential inverse head and shoulders. And that would look like this, where we do start to kind of break out, we create a higher high, and then we go off of that and kind of start to break towards 66K, and potentially reclaim some of the other prior highs at 70, and then 74, 75, then 82, and then all of a sudden we're breaking back to the upside and everyone's happy again. This is what I would like to see, obviously, but we kind of have to just take it one step at a time. Do I still have stablecoins on the sidelines? I do have stablecoins on the sidelines. I accumulate stablecoins every so often, whenever I do have some excess capital, or if, like, for an example, I'm not investing into TradFi, which, if you guys are in the Discord, you already know that I have been heavy in stocks lately, since going all the way back to like roughly March. But looking at crypto, I just felt like now is probably one of the best times to start accumulating, because of how just negative everyone is, how the sentiment looks, and everything is starting to pinpoint to like very positive price action, but we just don't have it yet, which is technically a pretty good time to be a buyer of altcoins. Now, let's look into the Discord. This is what I bought. So this is the full portfolio. Again, it's roughly, $59,000. It's a little bit over 59,000. I think it's like 59.8K or something like that. I think the CC buys a little bit more than $9,000. But regardless of it, this is the full setup that I really kind of had in place with the stablecoin stack. Now, for those that are not in the Discord, I have been accumulating, stablecoins for a very long time. I was starting to accumulate stablecoins back all the way to like roughly March, and even prior to that, I still had about $22,000 in stablecoins back in March of this year, and I just kind of continued to accumulate that all the way up until roughly the end of June. Now, let's go over this. $9,000 in CC. It's currently down a little bit, obviously, but just looking at it, why did I invest at the price point that I did? So, looking at CC, we were building out some nice solid support up here pretty much all throughout May going into June, and I was kind of expecting this to hold. Obviously, stop losses in place if you want. But considering the fact that this is a spot-based position, I'm not too concerned about, getting out of the position or anything like that, especially with the fundamentals behind Canton. So if you guys don't know about Canton, It was the main star of the DTCC's recent announcement. They're working with some pretty big heavy names, and yeah, just one of those projects that, in my opinion, is very, very bullish. Looking at this on a few other time frames, like on the daily, we are extremely oversold. We were on July 8th. We have just been chopping. We did have a slight little break back to like the high 14.5 cent region. This is my buy. The line on the chart, so actually a little bit lower than that because it's exactly at 14.9. But you know, the red zone is definitely a possibility here for Ken. But we also did wick down to major support. And so far that did hold, and we did bounce off of that in a very positive way. So that's definitely a very good +1. Now, the main reason why I did buy CC is because of number one, it's just a very solid utility-based asset. It's also tied back to, like I said, the DTCC. It's tied back to some major banks, institutional players, and so forth. And I just feel like, considering the fact that this is like one of those fresher coins, and it's not a fresh project, like they've been building for years, but it is a little bit of a fresh launch. And you know, we've just been kind of, you know, chopping here for a bit of time. And even if we do create a double bottom off of roughly like 11.8 or almost 12 cents, I'm totally fine with that. I'll take a little bit of a hit, and I'll just kind of accumulate more with some stable coins on the sidelines if I do have them available. But I do suspect that this is going to be a very big winner. Where do I see the price going? I mean, listen, it's anyone's best guess. I would feel like $1 would be fair out of the gate, or potentially even like 50 cents. And at 50 cents, you're talking about roughly a $20 billion market cap. And hey, I mean, 50 cents from where we are at right now, you know, even going off of, let's go off of my buy order to be specific. So like 50 cents going off of this, or even like 25 cents, you're talking about like a 62% run up. 50 cents would be a little bit higher than that. Obviously, it would be about roughly a 235% run up. So, I mean, hey, that would be a nice little like 20K stack, basically just going off of CC, which is pretty good considering the amount invested. And that's where I would probably look to start taking out some of my capital, especially considering the fact that it would have doubled already by then. So I would take my initial investment out anyways. But then looking at Track as well. So Track is the next one, $10,000 at 29.5 cents. Again, we're down a little bit below that. And, you know, am I really concerned about it? Not exactly. Origin Trail is like one of the few AI-based projects in this space that's actually being adopted and utilized in real-world applications. Also, there's a ton of great information on Origin Trail's website that you guys can do some research on. I might actually do a full deep dive on Track. I know that I did on the main channel a while back, but this is definitely one of those projects that I feel like deserves a lot more attention than it actually gets. But also the supply is great. I mean, 500 million max supply. The upside potential on this thing is very significant, which is also another reason why, you know, I don't mind my buy being a little bit underwater. We can go as low as like roughly like 20, 21 cents. That's where like most of our support going all the way back to 2023 is anyways. But this thing has been trying to break out for a very long time. You guys can see the high wicks. It's been trying to break out. And yeah, we're just in an accumulation phase at this point. If we're really looking at this like on the monthly view or so, we are in that accumulation phase since going all the way back to like 2022. So we already hit those lows, and it just kind of feels like, you know, optimism is dead. It kind of feels like everyone's just like, oh yeah, that's it, it's over. You know, nobody cares about these altcoins. And that's the best time to be a buyer, in my opinion. So again, Track is one of those buys that I feel very confident about. And price action wise, like where can we go? I mean, well, again, Origin Trail, going off the supply, going off the fully diluted value, I mean, even a 10x, like if we're thinking about a 10x from where we are at right now, you're talking about a almost $4 billion market cap. That's a $2.70 Track. It's not even its all-time high going back to 2021. I feel like a 10x would be fair from where we are at. And even going off of my buy, if we're going back to like $2.70, you're talking about roughly, you know, an 800% run up. So that would be a crazy amount of profit just off of one of these projects. And again, I'll probably take a lot of profits at some like the prior peaks on the chart, as you guys can see here. So by the time that we actually get there, like most of the stack will already be gone. But hey, going off of CC and Track, if these targets do hit, I should recover majority of what I already put in to all of these projects. And again, like I said, Track is one of those very solid projects that are also a utility-based asset. and already being utilized in real world applications. And then next up, we have Telcoin. So 10,000 Tel. Guys, I'm just going to be real with you. I already hold millions of Tel. Back in 2022, I think it was like maybe even early 2023, I invested thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into Tel. No, that's not me being a bragger or anything like that. It's just the fact that I really do believe in Telcoin. I think that this is one of those projects that's kind of just so heavily overlooked. Like people just kind of don't even know about it. And if you guys know the setup, I mean, this setup is so common at this point, but you know, you go back here as well. Like we were in a deep downtrend. Nobody really cared about Telcoin at this time because again, the downtrend was so ugly. Like, oh, it's horrific. Why would I ever buy, you know, an altcoin that looks like this? It's pretty much dead in the water. And typically what ends up happening is you kind of have this chop, 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 and then you get that like crazy pump to the upside. Again, we're chopping. And again, like I'm not going to try to time this at all, but I would expect a similar setup back here. So I would expect us to possibly have like a nice little pop, and that will get us back to like even the prior highs. Obviously the supply metric is a little bit different this time around than 2021 because we do have a lot more supply out there with 100 billion max supply. It is pretty significant, but you know, I still think that considering the market cap for this, you know, a 10x from here wouldn't be, you know, too crazy, but I still think that that's a little bit low considering the fact that like Telcoin has a lot of great developments happening around it. Like for an example, the Telcoin digital bank, also the stablecoin initiatives. There's definitely a lot going on with Tel. So I would say going back to its prior highs, you know, it's almost a 16x, and then also going back to the actual all-time high, talking about like a 32x. I feel like we could definitely get back to the all-time high. It's definitely going to require a lot of major attention, a lot of major, you know, movement as well. But I do think that Telcoin is also another one of those altcoins that's kind of just overlooked. Everyone thinks it's dead. And, you know, my buy area on the chart, yeah, it already is kind of a little bit under it. I do have this red zone on the chart because this is where a lot of support actually is and a lot of demand. If we do go that low, I'm totally fine. I have a lot of buys in that area anyways, going all the way back to 2022, back to 2023, even back to 2024. So this is just one of those altcoins that I feel very confident about just accumulating, especially considering the fact that like on higher time frame structure or even lower time frame structure, like the RSI is already back to like the bear market lows of 2022. So again, very similar to those times. I feel like, you know, it's a complete washout. Everyone's done. And yeah, I just think that this is going to be another one of those altcoins that pops in a big way and surprises a lot of people. I mean, we already have many peaks on this chart where it tried to attempt a breakout. So I do think that we'll probably get there again. And this is going to be a big profit maker for, you know, the portfolio for sure. But beyond Telcoin, we also have Ondo. I mean, do I really need to mention Ondo and why I bought Ondo? I bought Ondo around like 29.5 cents or so. We're sitting at about roughly 36 cents. Again, another major player tied back to, you know, SBI with even Ripple, tied back to the DTCC, one of the biggest tokenization giants in the space. Supply wise, I mean, listen, it's not the greatest supply. There's definitely a lot more supply that could be unlocked, which will probably be unlocked. You guys can probably track that here as well. I haven't really looked too much into the unlocks, if I'm being honest, but yeah, I mean, pretty much around like January 17 or January 10th, actually, we'll see another major unlock for Ondo, and that's going to be about, I guess it's, it doesn't really say, I guess it's 1.76 billion unlocked market cap. Supply 4.86 billion, and then we have another one here where, you know, it's going to be another 3 billion, and then last but not least, the full released supply will be unlocked by then. But right now, you know, we have about 4.86 billion out there. This will be, you know, 6.57 billion. This will be 8.28 billion. And then by 2029, you know, the full supply will be out there. And by 2029, I feel like the space is going to look completely different. But regardless of that, you know, the chart setup doesn't look too bad here. Main reason why I bought where I bought is because we are in the blue zone. This is where I feel like it's very, very good to be buying Ondo because of just like the prior, let me go back to the 1 week actually, just because of like the prior demand zone. Like this is where resistance was back in, you know, the official launch. This uptrend has been intact. It's been holding as well. And right now we are in a pretty solid structure on Ondo. If we're going back to like the 3-day structure, we do have some higher lows here. We have a floor forming right around roughly like 31.5 cents. So my buy did get hit at a perfect time. And just looking at this, I do feel like it's setting up for another run up to the upside. We're fighting resistance. And if we do start to break back out to like roughly 45 cents, Ondo could go on a historical run here back to the highs of potentially, I mean, hey, even if we get back to like $1 here for Ondo, that would be looking pretty good. And that's some significant profits for sure for my buy. But Ondo is definitely a massive tokenization giant connected to some pretty heavy names in the space. And it's definitely one of those projects that I'm focused on heavily as a utility maxi. And then next up, we do have Zebec, ZBCN. So I did purchase 10,000 ZBCN at 0.00233. Now, I did tell you guys ahead of time on the channel that I was going to be buying at this level anyways. And yeah, I mean, here we are. And, we bought it and it's down. So that means that it's bad, right? No, but on some serious notes, yeah, I mean, I did buy in the blue zone. Hey, I can't hate myself. I bought support. Now I'm kind of looking at this area here around like 0.00188. I think that we could definitely probably hit that level. It's definitely possible. There's a lot of demand there. But I'm mainly looking at RSI structure here. Like RSI, I mean, we're almost at the bottom of like the March 2026 low. So our recent low, and then even going back here to like 2025, it kind of feels like we're getting closer to that bottom here. We are in a significant downtrend, and typically these downtrends that are very ugly, they do tend to bottom pretty quick. So I would expect us to kind of bottom around these lows here, maybe retest the double bottom, or potentially even find a little bit of a higher low around like the 0.0020, which would, hey, that would be great. But yeah, I did buy in the blue zone. And, I do expect the ZBCN to do some pretty good things. I mean, the team has been very, very successful in what they've been building, what they've been doing. Going off of like where we are at market cap wise, like I love the fact that ZBCN, Telcoin, and even Track are all in like the top 1 to 150 region, because it tells me that their upside potential is definitely significant. Like going off of, ZBCN market cap 209. Could it 10x from here? Yeah, sure, 100%. And at a 10x, that's like a $2 billion market cap. And it's kind of funny because if we go back to like 2021 and we're like, oh, it could 10x, nobody would question it. People would be like, oh, it can't 100x. But that's just the landscape that was back there compared to now. But looking off of this, like our high back here, this would be about roughly 184% from the past high. I feel like this would be a pretty fair assessment for ZBCN. It's not too crazy of a moon boy target or anything like that. And it will definitely net some nice profits, but I would be looking at, cutting some off at the prior high and then off of our secondary prior high, and then just kind of holding some for the moon bag position. And yeah, ZBCN, another utility-based project that's pretty solid in the space. The team is pretty good. They've been very active. They've been having some major partnerships with some other utility-based networks that I hold. So yeah, definitely a big +1. Now, the only buy order that did not hit is XLM, and that's at 16 and almost a half cents. It is unfortunate because we did hit a low at about roughly like 16.8, 16.9. I'm not too concerned about it. Obviously, I want to buy more XLM because I do hold a solid position in XLM already. Do I really need to mention why? I mean, XLM is a big giant tied back to the Canton or the DTCC push with Canton. Also, XLM has been doing very well in terms of tokenization with Franklin Templeton. It's just a utility giant in the space, basically. I mean, it really is. But with XLM, I suspect that we're probably going to continue to chop in this downtrend. We have been seeing very, very bearish lower highs and also lower lows. And I would expect that the next low would be around roughly like 16.4, 16, maybe. Like I feel like we could definitely get a wick down to about roughly like 16.2, 16.3. So I feel like that would definitely be my buy order getting hit. So that's what I'm really kind of looking at right now. And of course, RSI rejecting the moving average. So that's what I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing with XLM. And of course, with RSI being around like the midline section, definitely some lower price action is, possible here. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing with XLM. And that's basically the buy orders that I have in place at this moment. I will keep the Discord up to date on this in real time. So if you guys do want to join the free Discord, you guys can down in the description below, but this is on the paid side just for reference. So if you guys do want access to this, this is in the premium ultra edition. There's going to be links down in the description below as well as in the comments below for this. I would highly advise people to really kind of look into the Discord. I think that there's a lot of value in it. There's a lot of updates being pushed in here all the time, as you guys can see over here. And then we also have the premium elite and then also the premium alpha, which is like the market alert. So yeah, this is going to be a lot more active going forward because I do feel like the market is about to wake up. So I think now would probably be the best time to be jumping in there, but that's the portfolio so far. And of course, yes, this is building on top of the portfolio that I already have in place with like XRP, HBAR, and a few other assets as well. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because I'm more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out, guys.